Okay, so the final recording will be available in a couple of weeks. There will be some materials going along that the Humber people will share, but we'll let them take care of the details about that. So I'm going to turn it over to Kate and Colleen, and thank you everyone for attending this afternoon.
Thank you, Corey.
Great, thanks so much, Corey. As Corey mentioned, I'm Colleen Ball, professor at Humber College.
I'm Kate Zhang. I'm also a professor at Humber College.
And we have Amir Tavangar with us as well. As Corey mentioned, if you've got questions, please feel free to ask them through the presentation. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Sorry.
All right. So yes, today we will be talking about an open source teaching and assessment platform that we have been using at Humber. Before I begin, I'd like to start with a land acknowledgement. As I read this land acknowledgement, I ask that you reflect on the land that you are joining the presentation from. Humber College is located within the traditional and treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Known as the Dobigok, the place of the alders in Michi-Saugig language, the region is uniquely situated along the Humber River watershed, which has historically provided an integral connection for Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Wyandot peoples between the Ontario Lakeshore and the Lake Simcoe Georgian Bay regions. Now home to peoples of numerous nations, Dobigok continues to provide a vital source of interconnection for all. Okay, so this presentation is about MyOpenMath, which is a fantastic open educational program that we have been using for the past couple of years here at Humber. Since we've been online, we've used it for nearly all of our quizzes and tests in just about all of our math courses and stats courses here at Humber. However, its use is certainly not purely limited to online courses. When we move back to the classroom, we certainly intend to continue using this platform for homework, practice questions, quizzes, and its polling tool. So a little bit of history on MyOpenMath. About a year or two before the pandemic started, Humber professors Anthony Van Hoy and Sandeep Bhargava learned about this tool called MyOpenMath and trialed it in a couple of their courses. They really enjoyed working with it, and they were actually able to move all sections of one of our business math courses into the MyOpenMath tool. And this happened right before we all moved online due to the pandemic. So when we were all suddenly pushed to online, we sort of assessed our options for testing and assessment and decided that this was the tool we wanted to use for our courses. So we were able to move just about all of our math and stats courses to the platform. To give you an idea of the scale of this, in the last academic year, we had about 10,000 Humber students using MyOpenMath for their math and stats courses. All right, so I am going to move away from my PowerPoint presentation right now and actually show you what a course looks like on MyOpenMath. So what I have here is a copy of our Math of Finance, our course at Humber, our first semester business math course. And as you're looking at this, you'll notice this is much more than just assessments. The MyOpenMath platform actually functions as a fully functioning learning management system. So if an instructor desired, they could certainly post all of their course materials on this platform, as well as using it to host the assessments. So looking at how this course is set up, we've put a calendar right at the beginning so that students and instructors can quickly and easily see the upcoming due dates. And then the rest of it is organized into modules, or what what they call blocks in MyOpenMath. So within the Getting Started or Course Information block, we have a couple of items for students, a document with some helpful hints for using the platform. Down here, we have a sample assessment just so that students can get some practice entering answers within the MyOpenMath tool. And we also have a link to the open source textbook that we're using with this course. So we have paired this platform with an open source textbook so that students do not have any costs for their textbook either. And then the rest of the blocks or modules are related to the learning materials. So within the Unit 1 block, we've got some live polls, which are a nice polling tool that Kate will go over in more detail later. We've got a folder with some great video links that students may find helpful. And then we also have a quiz. And so I'll just show you what the questions look like in this quiz. Maybe I'll just sort of show you one question within this particular quiz. So this is a pretty standard compound interest question. You can see the question has been set up so that students are prompted to input their steps. So students will need to tell us what they're inputting for P per Y, C per Y, N, and so on, as well as show us the future value that they computed. It's nice for a couple of reasons. Students like it because they can get part marks if they've got it partly correct. And they also, can see where they went wrong if they didn't get the question correct. We have set this particular quiz up to allow students multiple attempts on the questions because it's more for practice than a strict test. And so if they've tried this question and they have not got it correct, they will be allowed to try a new version. Click the new version, and you can see we've got different numbers for the dollar amount, the interest rate, and the time frame. So this question has been set up so that it's completely randomized, and each student taking the quiz will receive a different version of the question, and each time the student tries a new version for either for practice or as another attempt, they will also receive a different version. You can see these little keys here. This is for the instructor to easily see what the correct answer should be. And depending on how you set it up, the student may also be able to see those answers after they've had their attempts on the question. Okay, I'm just going to show you how we would set up a quiz within this course. So I might want another quiz within this Unit 1. So I would go into the Unit 1 block, go to Add an Item, click Add Assessment, and then I can create my quiz. So let's just call this one Sample Quiz. I can put a summary and some instructions for the students if I want. I can set up the time frame that I'd like the quiz to be available for. And I can also set the display style and the submission type. Now, it's important to take a look at this. If you are allowing multiple attempts on the questions, homework style will give new versions of the individual questions, whereas quiz style, the students would write the entire quiz, and then if they want to reattempt, they would attempt the entire quiz again. So I'll choose homework style for this one. You can choose the number of versions for each question and the number of tries on each version of the question. So if this is for practice, I might say, let's have 3 different versions of the question. Each version, the student can have 2 attempts to get it correct. There are quite a few other settings that you can go into here to set up your assessment exactly the way that you would like it. One of the nice things that I'll show you here is in the additional display options, you have an option to provide show work boxes. So I'll just select to have the show work boxes appear during the assessment. This is something you may or may not want to turn on, but if you would like the students to have the option of submitting their work with the questions, you do have that option right there. All right, and when you're satisfied that it's set up at the way you would like, click Create Assessment, and you've got your quiz or the shell of your quiz. No questions are in there yet. So MyOpenMath is open to any instructor at a recognized institution, and the instructors all work together to create and share the questions. So there is a huge library of questions that you can search and select from. So for example, maybe I would like to search for a question on compound interest. Type that into the search bar, select Search All Libraries, and press Search. And when I do that, I have a huge list of questions that comes up. When I scroll to the bottom, it says the search is cut off at 300 results. So there were more than 300 results that came up for this particular search. So you might wonder how you can sort through it when there are so many choices. One thing that you can do is to sort these questions by times used. So we can see this first question here has been used more than 27,000 times. That tells me likely the question is well written and well tested. You'll also notice as we're looking at the list of questions here, that some of the questions have a little video reel beside them. So that video reel indicates that there's a video embedded right into the question. And I'll click in this first question here so that we can see what that looks like. Got the question here. And right down here underneath, there is a link to the video that they've attached. I do understand that you may not always want the videos. If this was a formal test, you maybe wouldn't want the students to have access to the videos. Within your quiz or test settings, you can turn on or off the option to have these videos available to students. Okay. So if we wanted to narrow the search down a little bit because that is just too many results, then maybe we can say compound interest future value search, and then we get a more reasonable number of results to look through. So let's see. Here's a question. Let's add this to the quiz. If we like it, you can just put a check mark beside the question, press add. It gives you the option to set up the points and so on at this point. You can do it at this point or you can do it later. So I'll just add the questions and then I can see the question is added to the quiz. And if I wanted to change the number of points that it's worth, I just do that right here in the points box. Okay. You can also search in the library by question ID if you know of a particular question that you like. So there are a couple of nice questions that I'll show you. So I know this question ID and I just type it into the search bar, remembering to select Search All Libraries again, and that question pops up. Okay. So this question is also a business math question, and it's a break-even related question. So we can see we're given fixed costs, variable costs, and selling price. It asks you to enter an expression for total cost and an expression for total revenue as a starting point. If I press the answer key, I can see the answer that it is expecting. One thing to note about MyOpenMath is it does recognize when expressions are algebraically equivalent. So the answer is listed as 10x plus 60. It would absolutely accept 60 plus 10x as also correct. And you can see when I type in the answer there, I'm getting a pop-up box to allow me to enter various math expressions such as fractions or exponents or square roots. So total revenue expression or total cost expression, total revenue expression, and then students are asked to graph the line. This graph is quite nice and easy to create. You simply click a dot and then click one more, and it draws a straight line connecting those dots. Now I have no idea if that line is correct. Probably it's not. So let me just press clear. But the total cost, there should be a point at 0.60 and also 170. So I can put a point right there and a point right there. It'll connect the dots and that will give me my total cost line. And then I also put the total revenue line on. So at 0.0 and 1.15, there we go. We've got the total revenue line as well. And then the students are asked to indicate the break-even point, and they can do that either by solving the equations or looking at the graph. Okay, and this question is also totally randomized so that if you were to press new version, you would see a different version of this question with different numbers. And then maybe just, I'll show you one more question. 425759. All right. Now, this is maybe a typical technical math question, asking students to simplify some expressions. You can see that there's a little note in here for students to remind them of how the power rule works. Maybe this is great if you assign this for homework where students are given lots of time to practice. If it was a test, you may not want to show that. As an instructor or as a creator of this quiz, if you don't want those extra notes, you could easily template the question, create a copy for yourself, and remove the extra notes so that the question appeared the way you would like it to. And then again, for students answering this question, they'll have these math symbols so that they can, insert a fraction easily if they'd like to, or an exponent or whatever they need to. Okay, so I'll just say, let's mark this question for use. Close this up, and I'll add this to our quiz as well. All right. And then if we want to preview what our quiz looks like, we can press the preview button, and you've got a teacher preview option, or you can press start. Pressing start will let you see what the students see. So if I press start, this is how this quiz is going to look for students. They'll see the question, they'll have the spot to enter their answer, and they also can click on this add work button if they would like to show their steps, or if they are required to show their steps by you. Within add work, they can attach a file if they want. They also have these math symbols that they can choose from if they wanted to type in some mathematical expressions. So again, that add work box is optional, controlled by the instructor, whether you would like the students to have that option or not. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now and pass this over to Kate so that she can show you some more features of MyOpenMath.
Thank you, Colleen. I'll start sharing my screen. There we go. Everyone can see it? Colleen, can you see it?
Yes, yes, Kay.
Okay, thank you. So today we're going to introduce some features about MyOpenMath, as Colleen already started with the first and the most important one, which is how to take advantage of the large question library and create quizzes or other assessments. The other field I'm going to cover are integration with learning management system, live polls, which is an in-class polling tool, and late pass and accommodations. So the last two are both accessibility tools. Colleen already covered this page. So MyOpenMath can be integrated with learning management system such as Blackboard, Canvas, D2L, Moodle, and more. So here I created a little video, just show you what it looks like when it's integrated with Blackboard. So as you can see, as long as MyOpenMath is integrated with Blackboard, students can access quizzes through Blackboard directly without going to MyOpenMath at all. Now, another feature like poll is about in-class polling tool. So since the pandemic, we moved all of our teaching online. Now, as we all know, engaging students in online classroom is totally different game from doing so in the physical classroom, face-to-face. So I started trying many different polling tools. I tried Mentimeter, Google Forms, polling tools on Blackboard, Collaborate, and then Teams. But live poll is really my favorite, and that's for two reasons. First, it works very well with math questions. Earlier, Colleen already showed you all the questions you can use from the library, including calculation questions, graphing, also multiple choice questions and matching ones. So you can use all of those into live poll, whichever works best for your classroom. So that provides instructors a lot of flexibility. Now, the second reason I really like the tool is because the grades from live poll can go to students' gradebook if you choose to. So instructors can decide how to use the tool. You can either use that as just engagement tool. You can also use it for assessment purpose. Now, in my class, I use live poll pretty much every single class and students love it. So in the real class recording, when I give students a question on live poll, I would allow probably 7 to 8 minutes, but I cut a 30 seconds clip just to show you what live poll looks like in the class use. Now, for live poll questions, I usually select really basic and easy ones because I feel it's not just for me to check whether my students understanding learning material. It's also an opportunity to help students boost their confidence. So I don't want to make it too challenging. Now, another great feature about MyOpenMath is late pass. Late pass allows students to grant themselves an extension on a homework assignment. So during the semester, we know there will be weeks that students struggling with multiple deadlines, probably balance between work and life, or maybe they have family issues to deal with. So having late pass allows students to manage their own deadlines, give them a little bit flexibility. And here, this video will show you how to use late pass from a teacher's perspective and how students use late pass to access a quiz that's overdue. Okay, so as an instructor, you can always decide whether to use late pass or how to use it. So I just want to explain how I use this tool in my teaching. So I'm teaching Math of Finance this semester, and there are 11 quizzes through the semester. And that means there's almost one quiz due each week. And sometimes students find that's really intense. So I would always give my students 10 late passes at the beginning of the semester. And each of these late passes would allow 24-hour extension to an assessment. And I only allow late passes to be used in quizzes, but not tests. So as an instructor, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of setting. You can give late passes to the whole class. You can also give it to selected individuals. For each late pass, you can set the extension to be 12 hours, 24 hours, or 48 hours, whatever works for your class. You can also decide which assessments that late passes are allowed to use. Now, the last feature I'm going to cover is about accommodations. At the beginning of the semester, I would always receive emails from Accessibility Center telling me some students in my class will require accommodations. And most frequently, these accommodations would involve extra time for assessments. And this can be easily set up on MyOpenMath. And once it's set up, it would apply to all the assessments, well, all the timed assessments through the whole semester. So here's how it's done. As you can see, it's super easy. You set up at the beginning of semester, then the whole school semester is taken care of. Now, since we adopted MyOpenMath to all of our math and stats courses, we had great success with students' learning outcomes. But just like anything else, you always have challenges as well. So the challenge with this is MyOpenMath has a server located in the United States. So it sometimes worries us that our students' information and their test grades are stored in the United States rather than Canada. So if some students are not so comfortable with that, we would suggest them a workaround so that they will register with a fake name and a throwaway email. But to find a better solution and a long-term solution, so Humber Math Department worked with IT, and we built our own platform So this platform uses the same software as MyOpenMath, and we call it IDEAS. So IDEAS is short for Instruction Design Environment and Assessment System. And we have adopted IDEAS, and that's another success story. So now if some of you are interested to try out this platform, MyOpenMath, we have some resources to share with you. First is 3 Humber courses that are fully developed that you can copy. And there are also training videos, support and training courses. The 3 Humber courses that's ready to be copied. The first one is Math of Finance, and that's the course Colleen demonstrated earlier. So in this course, we have 11 quizzes, learning videos, and also links to an OER textbook. The second and the third courses are Math Head Start for technical and business mathematics. These 2 courses are designed for underprepared students so that they can study the modules and they will be ready for their program math course. So for both Head Start courses, they start with a diagnostic quiz. Students take the quiz, identify their weakness, and then they go on to certain modules to improve their skills. So each module has learning materials, learning videos, and also a quiz. If you are interested in copy any of those 3 courses, please feel free to email me or Colleen. We'll be happy to provide you with course code and also a quick video just to show you how to copy a course. And both of our emails would be on the last page of the slides. Now, the second resource we're going to share in are training videos. So since Humber adopted MyOpenMath, we had to train over 40 faculty in a very short time. So we put all these training videos together. As you can see, some are created by Humber faculty, and the others are created by Professor David Lipman, who is also the creator of MyOpenMath. So training videos here covers the basics for instructors and should be able to help you with a quick start using the platform into your class. Now, of course, MyOpenMath has a lot of features and the functionality that we don't have time to cover today. So if you want a deep understanding to understand how it works and all the features involved, there's this training course that's on MyOpenMath. So as soon as you register as an instructor, you will be automatically enrolled into a training course and a support course. And support course is where you ask questions. As you can see, it's a very active discussion forum. So when we come here to ask questions, we get answers from other instructors really quickly, sometimes even within minutes. But more frequently, we would just search our questions, search keywords, and our questions have been previously asked and answered. So that's a support course. Again, it's also on MyOpenMath. So that's all for our presentation today. Thank you all for joining us. We have Colleen and my email there. You feel free to reach out to us later on, but also we'll be taking questions now. Thank you. So I'll stop sharing.
So I can see that there are some questions in the chat. Maybe Corey, is it easiest if you kind of let us know which questions have come up and the order that they've come up in?
Sure, we can do that. I do see Amir has been giving some quick comments, but we'll go up to that. Just make sure we cover it for everyone who aren't following the chat. So
okay.
The first question that I saw was, can they use multiple extensions on one assignment? And it was Colleen, you answered this one.
LatePass.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, late pass.
Yes, absolutely. So if say the quiz is overdue like 5 days, students can apply 5 late passes.
Yeah, but it's actually an option that can be set by the instructor. You can let them use an unlimited number of late passes. Well, the limit being the number that they have, or you can say a maximum of 3 for this particular assessment, whatever the instructor chooses. That's totally flexible.
Okay. And this is from Maxim. Does MyOpenMath have live support for students? And is this completely free? Sub-question, who finances the service?
Go for it, Kate.
Well, MyOpenMath is completely free. Who finances it? Well, Colleen or Amir, do you know about that?
Well, I believe David Littman has sought funding for like various sources of funding over the years. Yeah, and a lot of his own time for free, I think. Yeah.
So my understanding, student support would be instructors, but I really haven't find like students having trouble with using this platform.
No, neither have I.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly students would reach out to their instructors if they're having difficulties with it, but I just have not found the that students have had technical difficulties with it.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you find the math engine? Do you often have to go in and adjust because students didn't type in the answers correctly?
I would say no. That we make sure we test the questions before we put them into an assessment to be sure that they're working properly. And then generally it works quite well. The other thing that I do for all of the tests and formal assessments is to go through and check the answers. And that gives the chance to give part marks because a student may have got 0 on the question if they had a rounding error, for example, depending on how it was set up, and you may want to give them part marks. I don't know if Amir or Kate has anything to add to that.
It's also very flexible. So when I teach math of finance, PV, PMT, FV, sometimes students enter as positive or negative. You can set the question in a way that it would take positive or negative both correct. And it also, you can allow a very small tolerance on decimals. So depending on what you think is appropriate, so that as long as within the range, it will be marked correct. I find I hardly have to like go in to check because students complain it's not marked correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So some general comments on, it takes time to create the customized lesson. And like that is, that's why it's not free because, it takes time in order to do that. And I'm not seeing any other questions.
Okay, and maybe I'll comment on the time. It does take time to set them up. But once things are set up, if you've set it up correctly and carefully selected your questions, it saves time later on because the system works very smoothly and will grade the work for you. But yeah, certainly there is time put in to set it up.
Yeah, I agree. Now, also in Humber, our approach is collaborative effort. So multiple faculty go through one course together, and that really saves time. And not only the question so smart, it grades itself, that's saving time. Also things, small features such as late pass saves time too. Because for me as an instructor, I really care about students meeting the learning outcomes. But if they're really struggling with deadlines, they do a few days late, and that's totally fine with me. So normally before I use MyOpenMath, it would be email. Students email me and ask me extension on certain assessments. But now I put that to students' hand so they have flexibility to manage deadlines for themselves. And that saves my time for communication for those small issues.
Okay, so perhaps a more technical question, but how difficult was it to integrate with your LMS?
Oh, That was super easy. It was just actually our colleague Amir's great. He put a video together, probably a minute long, and I just follow steps and it was integrated easily.
Yeah, actually, the only challenge we ran into, it's not even really a challenge. We needed to get our IT team to agree to allow it to be integrated. But it was, once they agreed to this, it was easy from their end and very easy from our end as well.
Okay, you had shown that an algebraically equivalent answer, such as 10x plus 60, will be accepted when the correct answer would be 60 plus 10x. What about with simplification? Would the simplified answer, which is the one we want, be accepted and not the original unsimplified question?
Rosina, that is an excellent question. So if you don't put any sort of checks into your question, it would recognize them as the same. It would say they are both correct. So within the code of the question, you need to specify that only certain forms of the answer will be allowed. And there are ways that can be done. It's discussed in the chat forums. And if any of you were wanting to set that up, that certainly is something that, you know, I could give some tips on as well. And Amir has lots of tips, I'm sure. But yeah, that's a great question. It's something to watch out for. And it is something to test and check when you're browsing the questions to be sure it's been set up so that it only accepts the answer that you're looking for.
Okay, so can you use non-numeric variables?
You mean X, Y, Z, that type of thing?
I don't know, Natalia, if you wanted to clarify that.
Hi, I mean, like you want to change the context of the question. For example, one student has like a budget of a country and another student has like profits from selling something, like words that would be incorporated as variables.
Yeah, there would be ways to do that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Different scenarios or even different company name or student
There you
name.
go. There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, and up a little bit. Okay, so once you've integrated with the LMS, are the students' marks automatically transferred into the gradebook? And for registration of students, do they need to register separately, and names must match the college system for no errors to occur?
I see. So once integrated into LMS, students' grades automatically upload to your Blackboard. And if it's integrated, students don't need to go to MyOpenMath directly. As soon as they click a quiz link through Blackboard, it's like automatically registered.
Excuse me, yeah, it was me who was asking this question. Thank you for the answer.
No problem.
It's just, yeah, I'm trying to understand. So basically, students are, of course, registered for their course in their college. Mm-hmm. Now, when they see the quiz, they just click on that quiz. They automatically would be redirected to that quiz without students having to register on MyOpenMath.
Exactly.
So they don't have to go. So which means that the system of MyOpenMath must communicate with the college system without
Blackboard.
approval of college. Does make sense? Like, I mean, if
the
nobody registers there.
With the approval of the college. So the college has to allow this LTI integration to happen.
Yes.
And then you integrate. And then the student information doesn't get sent until the student clicks into a quiz. So if a student came to you and said, I have real concerns about my information going on to this MyOpenMath server, you could tell them, okay, for you, don't access it through our Blackboard system. go directly to MyOpenMath, make up your fake name, your fake email, and do your quizzes through there. If a student was very concerned, that would be an option for them. The connection doesn't get made until the student clicks into the assessment.
Okay.
And we usually put a note right on top of the first assessment. So if you're concerned, talk with the instructor so that instead of logging in from Blackboard, they can set up an account on MyOpenMath with a fake name. But if they're okay, they click the quiz right away in Blackboard. And those students for the whole semester, they don't even need to know what MyOpenMath look like. Everything happened within Blackboard.
Mm-hmm. And while I'm here also, other type of questions when students watch like a video where video interrupts once in a while with question being asked. Other questions like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Like they're watching a video and then there's a question. Maybe, I don't know, Amir, do you know if that's possible?
Video queued questions? Sorry, I wasn't.
Like the video, which basically it's a lesson when students watch that video lesson, and just to make sure that they're not just, kind of watching it without listening to it. Once in a while, a video would stop and ask the question about what's happening in that video, just to get engagement from students.
Yeah, I think I've seen questions like this, that you can embed YouTube videos and then you add questions.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I think I've seen, yeah.
I think that requires another software. I think I tried H5P, if I remember correctly, and a few different ones. You have to upload your video up there and fill in questions.
Yeah, there is application, there is some software like that. I was just curious if this supports that too.
What it supports, what do you mean? You cannot create that kind of videos on MyOpenMath, but your question is whether you can upload that kind of question, that kind of video into MyOpenMath?
No, the question was if I could create this type of assessment on MyOpenMath.
No, I would say no. Yeah, it needs a different software.
I think Amir and Brendan were saying it may be possible.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't seen questions like it, but
yeah, it is called video queued. If you go in the setting of the assessment, so where you select the live poll or quiz style or homework, I think there's called video queued, I think. Then you can do that. I've never used it personally, but I think there is a possibility to use something like that.
Interesting. So when you say video queue, you mean so if I have 5 minutes video, I can cut in the middle, ask a question at minute 1, and ask another question at minute 2, and so on?
That I am not 100% sure.
I see.
But I know that you can do the questions as a scaffolding. So they watch the video for a minute, and then they have to answer questions, and then the next video appears. Then you ask a couple other questions, and then it appears like a scaffolding. That I know 100% that it is doable, but that you cut in one video to multiple pieces, that I have to double check.
I see. Well, Maxim, you ask great questions. This is something we got to look into. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay. May I add something now that if there is no other questions? Someone asked about the multiple extension. Apart from the live poll, you can individually extend assessments for individual students if you want to. And then yes, the system allows you to extend like individual extension for any students if you want to. That's one thing. The other questions that I got here, I'm not sure if it's private or public, is on the required times that you mentioned, Colleen, for algebraic expressions, that how to limit the type of the format of the questions. Somebody asked if it's possible to show for simple expressions, if you have a question in mind, anything handy that show that, okay, so for example, simplify, I don't know, use some exponent rules, for example, right? So if you can show that it does not accept the original expression, but the required format should be met in order to be accepted as the answer. if you could find someone.
Did you want me to try to find a question like
Yeah,
that?
somebody asked if you could show
Okay,
them.
let me see if I can.
Yeah,
let me see.
if you have
just,
time. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna look and see if I can find one quickly. Let me see.
Well, Colleen, while you're doing
Well,
that, I just wanted to
got
share a
it.
comment that was here.
Yeah.
It says that Humber's instance being hosted on site took care of the issues being hosted in the US, and other colleges can contact Humber to inquire about platform hosting on Canadian servers if your institution has privacy issues. So, I'm assuming they can just contact you and you'll put them in contact with the appropriate parties.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have those discussions. Thank you for reading out that comment from Mona, our associate dean.
Yeah, you can probably run it and then show that it does not accept particular.
Okay,
format
sure.
or-
So
yeah.
this is a question, actually, this question that we were looking at earlier. So the first one asks us, to simplify this, and if no stops were put in, then it would just accept the original question as the correct answer. However, when I input it and press submit, it says, no, that's not right. And let me just go to the code. I'll show you where in the code. Oh, I just closed it. Okay, never mind. Get it back quickly. I'll show you where in the code it limits it. So that piece of code is right here. The first question is indexed at 0. So it's the require times function. And it says little hat for exponent needs to be equal to 2. For that particular question, you need to have 2 exponents. H equals 2 as well. And I'm not sure what H is.
H is the variable. So
H,
the variable should be repeated twice in the answer,
yeah,
because we are expanding the exponent. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. H is this. Your exponent.
That's the exponent. Yeah.
Yes. That needs to be shown twice. So because we've put those requirements in, this is the one that it's going to accept. And it should also accept W to the H, C to the H. Not like that though.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that it accepts that as well. Yeah, that one's okay.
Yeah, so while, thank you, Colin. While we're on the question itself, somebody, I think it was asked privately that what the language is, I mean, the MyOpenMath is based on what language? It is based on the PHP language, but it has its own simplified version. So there's a document for helps and also for micro libraries and whatnot that you can just go over, and exactly everything is explained if you decided to have your own questions. Another things that while we are on it, I just want to, I think it's already been mentioned, but I just want to elaborate on the type of questions that the system supports. So you can have numbers, any type of numbers, like you can have calculated numbers. You can limit, for example, if you want to have your final answers as fractions or decimals or any form. It supports multiple choice. It supports multiple answer, matching functions, string, essay, drawings, n-tuple, calculated n-tuples, numerical matrices. It supports intervals, calculated intervals for complex numbers, calculated complex numbers. It supports file uploads, multi-parse, and even conditional. That you can get the final, get the student's answer, and based on that, you ask the next part into the question. So yeah, that's something that I wanted to add.
Thanks, Amir.
All right, thank you very much. I'm not seeing any further questions. I don't know if either of presenters have any last comments that they'd like to make.
Just thank you for coming, and please feel free to reach out if you've got questions.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Mhm.
All right, thank you very much to our Humber team for showing us their product and how they use it. There is one more session for the day, so switch over soon. This is my last session to host, so I would like to thank everyone for putting the OCMA conference together, our on-site facilitators, Derek and Maria, our off-site facilitators, Lisa and Monica, and our other OCMA people involved with the design of the conference, Action, and our past president, Dawn. Of course, Fern, our wonderful host, and all her publishers, sponsors. We thank them very much. And we hope to see everyone on site back at Fern in May, back on schedule, just like old times. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Samir, for joining us too. That was great.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Okay.
All right.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Into more meetings. Thanks again.
Yeah.